the small city of Aldhaven has uncovered a treasure of immeasurable value deep within its outer mines. A brilliant opal the size of a barn, its colours shifting hypnotically with every change of light, declaring it a divine gift. Lord Hadric of Aldhaven ordered the gem moved to his great hall as a symbol of fortune and divine favour. However, what was thought a gift was, in truth, a prison. Within the heart of the opal dwelled an ancient being of unknown origin, sealed away by means long forgotten. Once freed from the depths, the creature extended its influence upon the minds of Aldhaven's citizens. Now, all who dwell within the city walls serve the will of the stone, worshipping it as their god. Destroy the cursed opal and free the people of Aldhaven from its psychic dominion, but exercise caution. The citizens, though not evil, will defend their deity with fanatical devotion. The conclave of mages will offer an additional bounty for any successful identification of the entity, and for recovering a fragment of the shattered opal for arcane study. Notes for adventurers. Avoid direct eye contact with the stone. Prolonged exposure induces hallucinations and obedience. Expect resistance from the enthralled townsfolk, city guards, and possibly the Lord himself. The entity's influence grows stronger under moonlight. Time your strike wisely. In the golden age of the Western Kingdoms, there lived a young knight named Bale, sworn to the court of a prosperous and radiant king. The palace he served was a marvel of gleaming marble, its courtyards alive with music and perfume from the vast gardens that stretched toward the sun. Among those gardens Bale often found himself distracted, not by duty, but by love. A handmaiden of the rose garden, she was beauty and grace incarnate, always laughing, always vanishing before Bale could muster his courage. But one day, among the roses, she lingered. Smiling shyly, she confessed that the bloom she desired most, the violet rose, grew only on the vine climbing the forbidden tower of the court mage. The tower's doors were sealed, its master rumoured to practice grim arts on beasts and men alike. Love and folly make fast companions. That night Bale scaled the cold stone walls, driven by infatuation stronger than fear. Through the window he saw horrors he could scarcely name. Cages filled with half-living creatures, their eyes pleading for death, and among them faces of servants long missing from the palace. His stomach turned, but he reached for the violet rose regardless. Its beauty was unnatural, its petals glimmering with faint purple light. The instant he plucked it, a thorn pierced his finger. Pain raced through his veins, his body stiffened, and darkness crawled across his vision. As he fell, the chamber door burst open, and there stood the handmaiden, no longer bashful, but smiling cruelly beside the court mage. "Well done, my apprentice," said the mage. "A very fine specimen you found for us this night." Bale's scream was the last sound to echo through the tower that night. He was never seen again, though sometimes, when the moonlight hits the tower just so, one might glimpse a cage among the shadows, and a pale violet bloom growing from within. The blade chooses the dancer, not the brute. Adventurers looking to prove their mettle should seek out the trials of the sparrow. These trials are less about brute strength, and more about wit, resilience, and the spirit to persevere through uncertainty. Many set out to claim the sparrow's legendary prize, but few return, and none yet with the prize in hand. The first trial is the shifting labyrinth. The entrance greets challengers with a wall of pale mist. Once crossed, they find themselves in an ever-shifting maze, its passages rearranging like a living thing. Walls glide silently, archways dissolve into fog, and markers vanish as soon as they're placed. Sound carries strangely, and footsteps echo from directions they never came from. Upon escaping the labyrinth, challengers emerge atop a high plateau where the sky bridge spans a bottomless chasm. The bridge is broken in places, its fragments floating in the air, shifting with every step. Ghostly sparrows circle overhead, their cries signalling which stones will fall and which will hold. A wrong step means plummeting into the endless void. At the final chamber stands the Sentinel of Feathers, a towering avian warrior clad in spectral plumage and wielding a halberd forged of starlight. Its silent gaze pierces into the soul of all who dare approach. To defeat the Sentinel, one must match not only its strength, but its grace, fighting with precision and patience rather than rage. When the Sentinel falls, it dissolves into a flurry of feathers, leaving behind the prize, the Sparrow's Grace, a short sword of silver feather steel, impossibly light yet unbreakable. When swung, it leaves a trail of ghostly white in its wake. In the hands of the worthy, the blade guides its wielder's strikes, granting unparalleled speed and agility. In the annals of folly and ruin, few tales stand as cautionary as the Tournament of Ashen Crowns. Proclaimed by King Halvard the Golden-Handed, the event was meant to showcase his wealth, might, and the superiority of his realm. To lure the greatest warriors, sorcerers, and duelists from across the world, the king pledged a prize larger than any offered before. A caravan of jewels and gold so vast that it took a dozen oxen to draw it into the tourney grounds. Champions from every kingdom, Freeblade knights, and even mercenary companies flocked to the capital. Never before had such a gathering of arms and magic assembled for a single event. But wealth of such magnitude does not only tempt men. As the final matches were to begin, the skies darkened and a shadow swept across the lists. From the clouds descended Velgrith the Foul, a crimson dragon older than the king's line. With fire and claw, he laid waste to the Tiltyard. Contestants, mighty though they were, fell like wheat before the scythe. None lived to claim the prize, for Velgrith claimed it himself, curling atop the treasure like a victor upon his throne. The king's dream of glory became his greatest humiliation, for he not only lost his gold, but his warriors, his prestige, and the faith of his people. To this day, the Tournament of Ashen Crowns is remembered not as a triumph, but as a disaster. And yet, in dark jest, many across the realms call Velgrith one of the most successful tournament champions in history. His reign as victor unchallenged, and his prize still clutched in draconic talons. Beyond the misted forest hills of Elvermere, where evergreens bend beneath an eternal weight of frost, lies the realm of the Frozen King. Once a verdant land of gentle rivers and wildflowers, it now slumbers under an endless winter, its brooks frozen mid-song, its forests locked in glassy stillness. No one knows what drove the Frozen King to cast his terrible spell. Some say it was grief that froze his heart. Others whisper of ancient bargains struck with spirits of ice that dwell beneath the roots of the hills. Whatever the truth, he unleashed a magic so vast that the forest itself became his tomb, a place where snow never melts and time itself refuses to move. Trees stand like crystal spires. Animals wander as pale shades, and even the wind dares not raise its voice. Armies that once marched to free Elvermere are now frozen beneath the snow, their banners fluttering faintly in the still air. The Frozen King rules from a palace carved from frost and ancient oak, its halls glowing with cold blue light. Around him linger the Frostbound, his loyal retainers, men and women who swore eternal fealty and were rewarded with a half-life of frozen servitude. They move slowly, like drifting snow, their breaths forming halos of frost. Prophecy claims that to break the eternal frost, one must defeat the frozen king in his own court and place his heart, a shard of living ice, upon the altar of dawn. Only then will spring return to the hills, and the forest sing once more. In the far reaches of the twilight forests of the north dwell the creatures known as Grimclaws, monstrous hybrids of bat and bear, born from cursed alchemy and failed druidic rituals. It's said that centuries ago, a coven of moon-worshipping warlocks sought to create the ultimate guardian beast, a creature that would obey no mortal and serve as the perfect sentinel of their hidden sanctums. What they made instead was something they could not control. Grimclaws possess the hulking strength of a bear and the leathery wings of a giant bat, their bodies cloaked in coarse black fur that seems to swallow the moonlight itself. Their eyes burn with a red glow that cuts through the darkness, twin embers of hunger and hate. When they descend upon prey, the only warning is the thunderous rush of wings and the cold gust of wind that follows. Despite their savage appearance, Grimclaws are no mindless beasts. They are cunning, deliberate hunters, preferring to stalk and terrify their quarry before striking. Entire caravans have vanished along the northern roads, leaving only gouges in the dirt and a trail of shattered wagons. Some scholars claim the Grimclaws feed not merely on flesh, but on fear itself, drawn to terror like a moth to flame. Villagers who live near their territories light torches through the night, hang silver charms at their doorways, and whisper prayers to the old gods. But none of it truly keeps the monsters at bay. Those few who have discovered their lairs describe scenes of horror, bones stacked in strange ritualistic shapes, half-eaten carcasses scattered among piles of feathers and fur, and ancient runes carved into the stone, remnants of the warlock's long-lost magic. Whether these beasts still retain some dark connection to their creators is unknown. One of the most eccentric fighters in the realm, meet Brewmaster Bogdan, a rotund old warrior with a face weathered like a well-used tankard. Bogdan carries upon his back a heavy keg of his own special brew. Many have mistaken him for a simple drunkard or tavern fool until they see him fight. Bogdan's battle style is as unpredictable as it is effective. With a sword in one hand and a tankard in the other, he charges into battle-roaring tavern songs and sloshing ale. The more he drinks, the more wild and erratic his movements become. To his foes, this sway and stumble seems almost supernatural. Blades pass where he once was, and his ale-soaked laughter echoes as he ducks, rolls, and counters with staggering precision. His armour, dented and stained from years of battle and spillage, carries a comforting smell of barley and oak. Those who travel with him swear he can turn any battlefield into a tavern brawl, and any tavern brawl into a celebration. Despite his jovial manner, Bogdan has seen many wars and lost many friends. He drinks not only for pleasure but for remembrance, toasting those who fell before him. A name well known in back alleys and bounty boards alike is Gorm the Godless, a towering crimson-scaled dragonborn mercenary clad in battered leather and steel. Gorm is known as one of the most dangerous sellswords in the realm, not because of cruelty alone, but because nothing is sacred to him. Once a soldier in the Iron Vanguard, Gorm was banished for slaughtering an entire enemy envoy rather than taking them prisoner. When questioned, his reply was simple: "They paid me to end the war quickly." Since that day, Gorm has walked the realm free of allegiance, a living weapon for hire whose only loyalty is to coin. Criminal syndicates across the continent compete for his services. The mere rumour that a rival faction has bought Gorm's contract is often enough to make entire operations go underground. Those who've worked with him say he rarely speaks more than necessary. His silence in a negotiation is usually the moment the other party starts sweating. Despite his ruthless reputation, there are lines even Gorm will not cross, not out of morality, but pragmatism. He refuses to betray a contract once sworn. And though many have tried to outbid his current employer, none have lived to boast of their success. He wields an enormous great axe named Debt Collector, its blade engraved with the tally marks of those who failed to pay what they owed. Malgar was once a scholar of the Grand Arcanum, a prodigy in transmutation and alchemy. His obsession with immortality, however, drew him down a path forbidden by his peers. It is said he succeeded in halting his body's decay, but at a terrible price. His blood turned to liquid fire, his veins aglow with the crimson hue of the elixirs that sustain him. His body, though frail and skeletal, houses power that could level cities. He now dwells in the Sanctum of Scarlet Glass, a hidden fortress built of blood-hued crystal deep beneath the volcanic chasms of Durnmore. Within its labyrinthine halls, he conducts his gruesome experiments, refining his alchemical arts to create sentient homunculi, crimson constructs, and bottled souls that scream faintly when uncorked. Those who have encountered Malgar describe him as calm, almost regal, but with eyes that shimmer like coals. His staff, tipped with a pulsating red gem, channels energies not meant for mortal use. He is said to speak softly when angered, and only raises his voice to deliver curses that last generations. His true age is unknown, though ancient texts suggest his name appeared in records centuries apart, always associated with plagues, disappearances, and arcane cataclysms. Every great hall has its share of spirits, but few are as endearing or as peculiar as Sir Boo, the resident ghost of Highmere Keep. Unlike the mournful wraiths and restless dead that plague the world's ruins, Sir Boo is an altogether different sort of apparition, playful, curious, and blissfully unaware of his own spectral nature. No record tells of his death, nor even his life. Whatever his origin, he has become as much a part of the castle as the suits of armour and creaking chandeliers. Sir Boo is most often seen floating through corridors, humming cheerful tunes in an unintelligible language, his round, glowing form bobbing merrily from room to room. He delights in harmless mischief, hiding goblets, flipping pages in scholars' books, and occasionally possessing suits of armour to perform clumsy jigs for startled guests. Despite these antics, he means no harm. In fact, many residents have grown fond of him, setting out small offerings of sweets or shiny trinkets in thanks for his company. The Lord of Highmere himself refers to Sir Boo as the castle's eccentric pet, and it is said the ghost follows the young heirs about like a guardian, his presence often felt before seen, a faint giggle, a flickering lantern, or the gentle rattle of chains in an otherwise quiet hall. Perhaps one of the most beautifully destructive forces throughout the realms are the Flame Furies. These sorceresses are not mere spellcasters. They are dancers of destruction, weaving fire and motion into a single blazing art form. To witness them in battle is to behold a storm made flesh, graceful, radiant, and utterly merciless. Born from the secretive Crimson Temple of Ashvale, the Furies train from youth in both martial dance and pyromancy. Each movement of their body channels elemental energy. Every pirouette ignites sparks. Every leap births flames. When battle begins, their motions blur into a living inferno, consuming all within reach. Their philosophy is simple. The fire that destroys also purifies. Legends claim that a true fury can spin fast enough to summon a cyclone of flame so intense that stone melts in its wake. Their dances are both performance and invocation, prayers to the fire spirits that lend them their strength. Yet such devotion has its cost. The longer a fury channels her power, the more her humanity burns away. Some are said to vanish in their final dances, leaving behind only scorched ground and drifting embers. The flame furies are nomadic by nature, wandering the realm as mercenaries, performers, and purifiers of corruption. Villages plagued by darkness or foul creatures may find salvation or devastation, depending on the temper of the fury who answers their call. Hidden deep within the heart of the Emerald Sea, far beyond where sunlight pierces the canopy and mortal roads dare to tread, lies Elenoriel, the greatest of the elven cities. The path to the city winds through groves older than kingdoms, where the roots themselves form bridges, and rivers shimmer with light reflected from unseen stars. Even the most seasoned rangers take days to reach its gates, and some who seek it never return, lost to the enchanted stillness of the woods. Elenoriel is unlike any other city in the known realms. Its towers are not built but grown, colossal trees shaped by ancient elven songcraft into spiraling spires of living wood. The city is ruled by the Council of the Silver Bough, a conclave of druids, scholars, and sages who maintain the delicate harmony between civilization and the living forest. Here, elven magic is not an art of domination, but communion, the bending of nature's will not through command, but through understanding. At the heart of Elenoriel stands the Arbor Sanctum, a tree so vast it dwarfs mountains, its roots spreading for miles, its crown said to brush the clouds. It is beneath this colossal being that the elves hold their great festivals, honoring the spirits of wind and leaf, life and renewal. Travelers fortunate enough to glimpse Elenoriel speak of its peace, a serenity so profound that time itself seems to slow. But the elves are cautious hosts. Outsiders are rarely permitted beyond the outer glades. Those few who have earned their trust describe it as a paradise untouched by war or sorrow, a dream of what the world once was, and what it might yet be again. The wise fear dragons, the craven fear death, the truly foolish summon both. These creatures were once proud dragons, rulers of the sky and fire, whose corpses were unearthed by those who dared to command the powers of death itself. But dragons are not meant to be mastered, even in death. The ritual to raise a necroworm is whispered to be among the darkest in existence, requiring the blood of a worm slayer, the ashes of a consecrated temple, and the binding sigils of 10 necromancers acting in unison. Even then, success is uncertain, for once the dragon stirs, no mortal will ever control it again. When the necroworm awakens, it rises in silence, its wings torn and tattered, its scales dulled to the colour of grave ash. Where once there was flame, now there is frost and decay. Its breath does not burn, but withers life into dust. The beast's eyes glow faintly with ghostlight, burning with unending hatred for the living. These undead titans are drawn to the deepest caverns and lightless fissures, where they brood in silence, seething at their cursed existence. Travellers in the mountains speak of low rumblings beneath their feet, as if the dead earth itself were groaning, and the scent of rot carried on the wind. No scholar or priest has yet found a way to destroy a necroworm permanently. Even when its bones are shattered, its soul lingers, waiting for the next fool to call it forth again. Deep beneath the world's surface, far beyond where sane minds dare tread, lies the Forbidden Library, an ancient archive that predates every known kingdom and creed. Its shelves hold grimoires and scriptures too dangerous for mortal thought, texts that hum with forbidden knowledge, words that whisper themselves into the mind and unravel the soul. The hollow-eyed wardens are its eternal custodians, neither wholly alive nor dead. These tall, spindly beings patrol the endless stacks in perfect silence. Their bodies resemble dark, brittle carapace, and from the centre of their faceless heads glows a single radiant eye, an orb of eldritch light that pulses softly in the dark. It is said that this eye sees not what is, but what should never have been seen. The wardens were once scholars, archivists of an empire long lost to the tides of history. When their thirst for knowledge turned toward the profane, they were bound to the library by their own hubris, transformed into undying sentinels so that none might repeat their sin. Now they wander the corridors of forbidden wisdom, guarding its contents from intruders and ensuring that no tome of damnation ever leaves its halls. Once every 5 years, the crumbling streets of Kelzorath awaken to the festival of Othrin. The god of the hunt demands a proving of skill and ferocity, and his faithful answer by gathering the world's most celebrated trackers, archers, and beast tamers. Their prey is no stag or boar, but man himself, 100 prisoners condemned for crimes ranging from petty theft to blood-soaked murder. When the sun first touches the jagged skyline, the chosen awaken in scattered places within the abandoned city, stripped of all weapons and possessions. Their singular promise is carved into the obsidian archway over the city's north gate. Escape, and you are free. The assembled hunters include such legends as Kael Draven, whose arrow has never missed its mark in 3 decades, Sura the Houndmother, who looses her pack of shadow-born wolves through the streets, and the Ashmantle twins, whose traps have ended more prey than the blade. They arrive as much to honor Othrin as to best one another, for the hunter who claims the most kills is granted Orthan's favor, promising good fortune in all hunts to come. Those who seek glory and enchanted steel, take heed. The following relics of old remain unclaimed, their powers slumbering until a worthy soul proves themselves. Each weapon is bound by trial. Pass, and the weapon is yours. Fail, and you may never leave its resting place. The first is Frostfang, the icebound sword, a sword of jagged steel rhymed with eternal frost. It never dulls and exhales cold mist with each swing. Located in the glacier tomb of Thrym, deep within the ever-white peaks. To lift Frostfang, one must endure 3 nights upon the glacier without fire or shelter. Spirits of the storm will descend, whispering false comforts. If you survive with body and will unbroken, the blade will rise from the ice to your hand. Second, Emberlash, the Whip of Cinders, located in the Ashen Spire, within the ruins of a volcano long thought dead. A whip forged of blackened steel links, each stroke shedding sparks and flame. It sears the soul as much as the flesh. To earn Emberlash, one must defeat its eternal guardian, the Ashen Seraph, a revenant wreathed in living fire. Only by striking down this guardian does the whip uncoil from his ashen corpse. Lastly, the Hollow Shriek, Dagger of Shadows, found in the catacombs beneath the drowned city of Kael'vis. A black dagger said to drink both blood and light. Wounds made by it bleed longer than any natural cut, and its edge can pierce even ghostly flesh. To seize the Hollow Shriek, one must navigate the catacombs alone in utter darkness. Torches and spells of light gutter out upon entry. Within, the dagger whispers, leading the claimant deeper. But beware, it also summons shades of those you've slain. Only by facing them unflinching can the weapon be drawn from its pedestal. Advisory to seekers. Many have sought these relics. Few returned. Those who did often came back without eyes, hands, or sanity. Should you take up these quests, do not say you were not warned. There are many perils of mountain travel, but none are so deceptively ordinary as the Stonehounds. These creatures are masters of disguise, their bodies rough and uneven, shaped like the very boulders that litter the narrow passes of the high roads. A traveller might rest against one, or stumble over it in the dark, and that is when the nightmare begins. When roused, a Stonehound shakes off centuries of dust and moss, revealing a hulking creature of stone and sinew. Its growl is like the grinding of two mountains, and its pursuit is relentless. Once angered, a Stonehound will chase its quarry up and down the entire range, its heavy footfalls echoing like thunder through the valleys below. Whether born of the earth or cursed to it, no scholar can say for certain. But one thing is known. When the ground beneath your feet growls back, it's already too late to run. Few noble lines have fallen so far, or so quietly, as the House of Morvain. Once lords of vast holdings and patrons of scholars and artists alike, the Morvain's name is now spoken only in cautionary tales of ambition curdled into madness. Their ancestral manor, Blackhearth Hall, still looms over the moors of Eldrith, shrouded in a perpetual mist said to reek faintly of iron and rot. No banners hang from its walls now, and yet strange lights flicker in its windows at night. Over decades the family withered, their wealth faded, servants fled, and one by one the noble bloodline turned inward, consumed by obsessions none dared to name aloud. It is said that a shadow took root beneath the manor's foundations, whispering its dark promises to the family who once ruled from on high. Lord Carden Morvain, the patriarch, is remembered as a scholar of death, fascinated by the limits of mortal endurance. Those who visited him spoke of strange devices, bones arranged like constellations, and the steady hum of his experiments deep beneath the manor. Lady Elendra, once the jewel of courtly grace, withdrew from the world entirely, claiming to commune with the spirits of the estate's ancestors. She wanders the halls still, they say, her beauty preserved by the same unholy pacts that took her mind. Vile Morvain, heir and soldier, returned from the southern wars a broken man. Rumours abound that he carries within him the souls of those he slew, bound to his flesh by his father's design. His laughter, when it comes, echoes hollowly through empty corridors. Ceres Morvain, brilliant and cold, was said to have found a way to raise life from clay and blood. Some claim her servants still tend to Blackmere Hall, silent, faceless things that bleed when they bow. Today few dare approach the manor. Those desperate enough to seek work within its walls never return. Travellers who stray too close speak of a light in the highest tower, and the faint strains of a waltz long after midnight. The Black Hand is not a gang in the tavern sense, nor a band of brigands bowed to a single lair. It is a shadow-bespoke machine, a network of thieves, fences, forgers, enforcers, corrupt officials, and cutthroats, that threads itself into the commerce and governance of cities from the coast to the highlands. Where coin changes hands and laws are thin, a black-gloved wrist will be found, often before sunrise. They operate like a spreading stain, careful, patient, and almost bureaucratic in their cruelty. A shipping manifest disappears. A magistrate's ledger gains a new line. A noble's carriage is waylaid with the precision of a clock. The hand profits from vice, protection, sabotage, and information, selling all three to the highest bidder, and keeping none of the loyalties longer than their usefulness. They are commanded by the empty ring, a faceless shadow council that whispers policy but never meets in person. Assignments are rationed and signed in code. Payment can be coin, favours, or secrets. Contracts range from petty theft to staged coups. Recruitment is pragmatic. Skill, silence, and hunger matter more than honor. Allow me to introduce my dear friend and colleague, Professor Edrin Vela, naturalist, conservationist, and self-declared friend of the untamed. His life's work is the study, preservation, and understanding of the countless creatures that roam our realms, from the smallest pixie wasp to the grandest dragon. To call him eccentric would be an understatement. To call him courageous would be redundant. Edrin's journeys span every corner of the known world. He is famed for living a full week in a griffin's eyrie, sharing meals of half-cured venison with the chicks, and for wrangling wild velociraptors deep within the great rainforest, an endeavour he describes as a negotiation of mutual terror. In the frozen north, he sat in council with the great owls, beings of vast intellect who rarely deign to speak with humankind. For this feat alone, he earned the title Whisperer of Wings among scholars of the Arcane College. So deep is his respect for life in all its forms that it is whispered he has gained the favour of several dragon clans. His notes on draconic behaviour, etiquette and dialects are unrivalled, though much of his research remains unpublished at the dragon's request. Some say that in times of peril, shadowed wings guard his path, and his name is spoken in reverence even among worms. Professor Vela maintains that every creature, no matter how fierce or strange, deserves understanding before judgment. He is the living bridge between the civilized and the wild, a reminder that coexistence is not just possible, but necessary. He is often heard saying, "The beasts are not the monsters of our tales. They are the mirrors of our hearts, fierce, loyal, and only cruel when cornered." Nestled deep within the overgrown wilds of Edivane Hollow, along no marked road nor recognized map, stands a pristine manor, known by locals only as the Doll House. Its whitewashed walls and polished windows gleam even under years of abandonment, a strange beacon to those lost in the dark wood. To the weary traveller, it appears as a blessing. But the truth is much darker. Those who claim to have seen the Doll House speak of a place untouched by decay. The hearths are swept, the silver polished, and tables set for unseen guests. Yet there are no servants, no owners, no trace of human life. Only the dolls, dozens of them, filling every parlour and hallway. Each doll is exquisitely made, with glass eyes that gleam unnaturally bright, and porcelain skin too perfect to belong to any toy. Some wear the faded finery of nobles, others the rags of peasants. Their placement seems random until night falls. As darkness descends, the doll house awakens. Soft footsteps echo across the halls, too light for human tread, too numerous for coincidence. Visitors report objects shifting when unobserved. The faint giggle of a child, the creak of hinges as doors close of their own accord. And then silence. When the first scream comes, it is usually the last sound heard. The dolls, animated by some unholy craft, rise to defend their home. They wield whatever they can grasp. Kitchen knives, sewing needles, shards of glass, even fire pokers. Their porcelain faces remain smiling as they descend upon intruders in a flurry of cold precision. By morning, all that remains are bloodstains and new additions to the collection. Some say the dolls are the souls of those who sought shelter within, forever trapped to serve the house that devoured them. Travellers who pass through the lowlands near Bramblethorn Hill would do well to give the place a wide berth. Beneath its tangled canopy and thorn-choked rise lies a cavern network of root and soil, said to be home to the dreaded hags of Bramblethorn Hill, a coven of ancient witches whose cruelty has long haunted fireside tales. The entrance to their lair is hidden behind a veil of brambles and twisted roots, descending into a suffocating warren of earthen tunnels. There, the hags brew their vile concoctions, using blood, bone, and fungus as their reagents. The air reeks of rot and decay, and the roots themselves seem alive, pulsing faintly as if feeding from the corruption below. The walls of their den are said to hum with faint whispers, voices of the lost bound eternally to the soil. The hag's servants are beastly hybrids of horn and hoof, creatures once human, now twisted by dark enchantments. They wander the hill by moonlight, bleating mockeries of laughter through the mist. Old folk songs warn of the hag's most dreadful appetite, the flesh of naughty children. Those who stray too far after dark or defy their elders are said to vanish, only for the wind to carry the faint scent of boiling broth from Bramblethorn Hill the next night. For those foolhardy or brave enough to seek the jewelled chalice of Tyrn, said to lie deep within the hall of the mountain giants, it's wise to first speak with a dwarf who's actually been there and lived to tell the tale. That dwarf is Oleg the Obsidian, once part of an adventuring party that set out to plunder the giant's hall. Oleg returned months later alone, scarred, bitter, and burning with the fire of vengeance. Oleg's company was ambushed soon after entering the giant's stronghold. The giants did not slaughter them outright. Instead, they kept Oleg alive as a pet, mocking his stature and forcing him to serve their table like a bauble. His comrades were not as fortunate. Months passed in humiliation before Oleg seized a chance to escape during a drunken feast, disappearing through smoke, spilled mead, and panicked shouting. To this day, the giants believe he is still somewhere in their mountain plotting. Oleg earned his moniker, the Obsidian, not for his armor, but for his will. Hard, dark, and sharp. It is not advised to ask him about the details of his captivity, but his hatred for the giants is legend. He is said to know their hallways, feasting hours, and sleeping patterns better than anyone alive. Adventurers seeking the treasure should consider him not merely a guide, but a weapon waiting to be aimed at his captors. As you travel throughout the realms, you may encounter a curious figure, a halfling wrapped in too many scarves, adorned with bits of bone, and clutching a staff carved with cryptic runes. This is Rattles, warlock, wanderer, and by every account completely, unapologetically mad. Rattles spends most of his time pacing in circles, holding entire conversations with, well, no one visible. Whether he is muttering to himself or to the shadowy patron who gifted him his formidable magic is unclear, and frankly, no one wants to get close enough to find out. Witnesses have heard everything from bargaining, threats, and apologies, to loud debates punctuated by bursts of eldritch energy. Once, he was seen furiously berating a patch of moss for interrupting the archdevil. While Rattles isn't known for cruelty, approaching him is like walking through a field of unstable spell runes. His emotions and magic seem tied together in a precarious knot, and even well-meaning conversations can end in accidental hexes, spontaneous lightning, or being screamed at in a language no one recognizes. Despite his volatility, many wandering adventurers leave him be, for rumor holds that Rattles knows things he shouldn't, scraps of forbidden knowledge whispered by something deep, dark, and patient. For the uninitiated or unconnected, those without the coin to purchase arcane materials, or the favour of a magical benefactor, the crystal caves of Drelvorn present a tempting prospect. Veins of azure scryglass, moonbloom quartz, and flame-binding corundum run thick through the stone, and can be pried free with patience and the proper chisels. These treasures are the lifeblood of enchanting divination and alchemy alike, and many a wizard's career has begun in the echoing chambers beneath Drelvorn's hills. Yet the Collegium issues this warning with the utmost gravity. The caves are home to the cave creepers. Many still brave the risk, for the caves of Drelvorn are said to replenish their crystal stores with uncanny speed. Whether this is due to the mountain's nature or some deeper, stranger magic is a question few have dared or lived to answer. Remember, young Magus, a single handful of crystals can begin your legend or mark its bitter end. Many dangers in the great labyrinthine caverns come with claws, fangs, and a hunger for flesh. Others, like the cave phantom, are just catastrophically bad at directions. A flickering ghost in a very dramatic cloak, he will emerge from the dark with the confidence of a seasoned guide and absolutely none of the skill to back it up. "This way," he whispers reassuringly, and that's the last time anyone's ever known where they were. In life, this unfortunate soul was a would-be adventurer named, well, no one really remembers. He set out on his very first quest with a rusty sword, a borrowed lantern, and a map he couldn't read. Within an hour of entering the caverns, he got completely and utterly lost. Most adventurers pass into legend after great feats. He passed into legend by wandering in circles so long he starved to death. And naturally, he's been doing the same ever since. If you encounter this phantom, smile politely, say maybe next time, and walk briskly in the opposite direction. Those who follow him inevitably join him, becoming part of his increasingly confused tour group of the afterlife. Beneath the polished halls of noble courts and the solemn dueling circles of knights, another kind of contest thrives, bare-knuckle brawling. The Broken Knuckle Circuit is a loose but fiercely loyal network of fight pits scattered across the realm. It is a place where coin, blood, and pride change hands freely. For some, it is a means to earn a living. For others, it's a matter of honor. For a few, it is the only language they've ever spoken. Fights are held in basements, tavern cellars, abandoned warehouses, and occasionally, when a particularly big match is booked, in old arenas. There is no single governing council, but fight masters across the realm operate by the same few rules. No armor, no blades, no magic. The match ends when someone yields, or can't. Bets are open to the crowd. Wagers range from copper to fortunes. Winners may rise through the informal rankings, earning their way to the top pit of the season. The current reigning champion is Barton the Beast, a dwarf with a barrel chest and fists like stone mallets. He's been undefeated for 3 years, his brawls ending more often with opponents carried out than walking. Known for his ferocious brawling style, he has little patience for showmanship and less for mercy. Outsiders are welcome in the pits. Few leave with their pride intact, and fewer still with a full set of teeth. But a lucky or brutal fighter can make their fortune here. Some adventurers have even found their names carried in drunken songs after a single legendary bout. Long before kings forged crowns and temples rose to the gods of light and flame, there was a pantheon now mostly consigned to dust and whispers. Among them, Shoran was known neither as warrior nor creator but trickster, feeding not on worship but on reaction. The shock of surprise, the confusion of paradox, the laughter born of despair. When the world turned its prayers to more noble gods, Shoran's followers dwindled to none. His temples collapsed, his idols were ground into sand. But a god's end is never clean, and some embers never die. Once a year, when both moons align and cast a faint green shimmer across the land, Shoran awakens. On this day, doorways and windows grow thin, and unwitting mortals may find themselves pulled into the fool's firmament, Shoran's floating shard of the void. a splinter of reality wrapped in black starlight and trickery. Here they wander shifting corridors where mirages mimic friends and fears, where hallucinations twist truth into torment, and where riddles can harangue the soul. Only wit and will can weather the gods' games. Only once Shoran's power once again wanes, and his tethers to his realm fade, is the ordeal over, and his victims returned from whence they came. In the dark years following the fall of the crown, few names are spoken with such mingled hatred and fear as Callista Mar. Once an orphan from the scorched badlands of Renmoor, she clawed her way into the king's army with nothing but her blade and her fury. Where others sought honor on the battlefield, Callista sought victory, no matter the means. Her commanders condemned her for it, her peers feared her for it, and her military career stagnated as a result of her ruthlessness. When the coup came, the usurper saw opportunity where others saw a liability. When the royal heirs fled the capital under cover of night, Callista was unleashed like a hunting falcon. Her mission: find the princes and see the royal line extinguished. She took to the task with unnerving zeal. Villages suspected of harboring the fugitives burned in the night. Those who resisted were broken upon her rack of cruelty. She earned her epithet, the Bloodhawk, not from the usurper's mouth, but from the lips of the folk living in fear of her arrival to their village. Today her hunt continues. It is said she now moves along the borderlands, her cloak tattered and her talons sharp, ever in search of the lost heirs. For those who cross her path, mercy is a luxury long since burned away. Once each century, when the veil between mortal dusk and endless night is thinnest, invitations written in ink of shadow are whispered into the dreams of the chosen. This marks the calling of the Nightwalker's Gala, a gathering not of nobles or kings, but of the realm's nocturnal horrors, vampires, leeches, revenants, banshees, and all those who walk by moonlight rather than sun. No one knows who or what the Nightwalker is. Some call him the eldest vampire, others a god who turned from light to embrace eternal darkness. Whatever the truth, the Gala is held at his command. The Gala shifts from age to age, but what never changes is the opulence. Gilded chandeliers dripping with melted candles, long banquet tables filled with crimson goblets, and music so haunting it drives weaker guests to madness. The Gala begins at the stroke of midnight and ends only when the first ember of dawn dares approach the horizon. Attendees are creatures of power and infamy. Vampire lords waltz with banshees whose screams once leveled armies. Skeletal knights duel silently for sport. Necromancers compare their latest abominations. Yet beneath the revelry is an unspoken truth. The Gala is as much a council as it is a celebration. Ancient rivalries are set aside temporarily as alliances are forged, feuds negotiated, and whispers of dominion over mortal realms are exchanged like dance partners. The presence of mortals is rare and almost never voluntary. The vast majority who find themselves amidst the revels are not honoured guests but coursers upon the banquet tables. Their blood fills jewelled goblets, their flesh roasted or served raw to appease the hunger of the undead and the damned. A handful may be spared for sport, chased through candlelit halls, or forced to perform before the court of monsters. None are remembered as anything but a feast.